I am sorry I did nothing this week, but was very hard, and I feel very pity. Sorry for that.
Oh, no problem.
Oh, no problem.
It was a busy week.
It was a busy week.
Oops, I was muted. Is everyone in the mural
breakfast
board?
while we're waiting for dinner.
My lovely friends, we have some friends staying with us, and the girls were up making a pot of oatmeal. Living in community is pretty good. Real community can give you a bowl of oatmeal, but online community gives you very nice smiles till we can have a bowl of oatmeal together.
Yeah. Cool. So maybe we can start. Juan, I don't know if you prepared anything at all, and if you didn't, no problem. But we talked about maybe starting with an icebreaker question that you had from the website that you sent me. That we wouldn't have time for the whole process. So maybe if you had just one question that we can pass around.
Okay, maybe starting on what has been a recent book or movie or TV show that you have seen lately that you would like to recommend to the people in this group?
I'll go. So I just watched the other night this documentary called Encounters at the End of the World. It's by this crazy German documentary filmmaker called Werner Herzog. He's got like a super quirky sense of humor. And he went down to Antarctica and he documented his journey and interviewed all of the people who live in Antarctica, and they have the most fascinating stories. And he dove under the ice and he plays just the track for like 5 minutes of the seals and sea lions making the noise under the ice, and it sounds like aliens. It's really crazy. And he kind of takes the piss out of the people a little bit, like, or you could take it that way, like he makes fun a little bit, but also it's just like, it's not that he's making fun of the people, like they're just that weird and interesting. Like, how did they end up in Antarctica? And they all have like crazy travel stories, and what draws people to this like weird thing that looks like another planet on our planet. So highly recommend Encounters at the End of the World. I'll drop a link in the SoftGov Telegram if you're interested. It's really like trippy and funny and fascinating.
And you passed to?
Pass to Supernova. I'm not sure who that is.
Oh, hello. Sorry, I've just kind of fallen in this Discord like very recently. I don't really know anybody. But something that I watched recently that I'd like to recommend to everybody, I was watching it last night, was Requiem for the American Dream. If anybody's not seen it, because it's like unbelievable. And Noam Chomsky's like one of my heroes.
Oh, and then you get to call on someone.
Okay, well, I'll call on Santi then.
Thank you. Well, I just went over this book that I've written already a couple of times, and I just finished reading it for the third time. It's called Predictable Irrational from Dan Ariely. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. I recommend you. He's got a trilogy and some other work that you can find online, and I think he made even a course in Coursera that was free a while ago. I don't know if it's still there, but it's really amazing how can our subconscious cheat on us. And I really think it's a fascinating field and a great book to read. And I'll pass it to Livia.
Okay, this is the first thing that comes to my mind because I watched it last night. I don't know if it's really recommendable, but I watched Borat 2. And it just it's very fascinating to me, the twist on the narrative to present an outcome. It's like from a completely from a completely twisted point of view that brings you to something that blows your mind at some point. You're like, oh wow, how did that connect it to this? And yeah.
She's frozen. I'll just grab it. Actually, I started watching The Mandalorian because Juan recommended it. But I'm gonna kind of change the strategy here a little bit and be more practical. I really like Box Mining as a YouTuber around like DeFi investing and stuff like that. I think he's giving really cool and interesting information. He's like my more practical one. I love Crypto's News, but that's because he's my buddy Omar. But Box Mining has been really bringing it lately. So I'll pass it to Craig.
He's the Asian guy, right, Griff?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
He's great because he gives like he's in Hong Kong and he gives kind of the Chinese perspective. Craig, you're still muted. Did we lose you? There it is. Oh man, we just see the dancing squares. I'll pass it to Quartaguillo.
Hi. In this month, I started reading a book by chance. I didn't choose to read it, about the born of the electronic trading in a stock exchange, and it's very fascinating. And it describes how before the stock market was human based, with people do training and stuff like that, and it describes as in a narrative way, but in a true way, how the first electronic system born. And it shocked me because the process is like the same of the blockchain development, because it has been driven primarily by profit, because the Nasdaq stock exchange was very bad and tended to abuse of its power. And so other people started to use computers to fuck off the Nasdaq, but they were just young, sexist and vulgar men that do this. And then at the end, a very testosteronic, violent, very perverse culture. But at the end, the system changed because of these men. And so now the stock exchange is all automated and is a shit. And so yeah, it's very interesting. I think it's the same dynamics we are seeing in the blockchain. And so I think we are the people that make it more human and less Western and male. So yeah, the history of electronic trading is very interesting if you have a chance to read about it. I pass to Zeptimus. Did you already talk?
No, I didn't talk.
Okay.
I've been watching. It's an anime, Full Metal Alchemist. I don't know if anyone here watched it. I'm watching it again with my sister, and it's fascinating. Like how they the feelings they have to each other and how they want to. I don't know how to say it, but the thing is I don't want to do spoils, but what I love about this anime is like they wanna do what they wanna reach what they wanna reach, but on the way to reach it, they wanna help the other people, and that's amazing of them. Like this attitude of Edward Elric, it's amazing. I just wanted to point it out, and I think only Tonga is the one lasting, right? So I pass it to him.
Sorry, I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Yes? Okay. From what I heard, you were saying what you had done in the last time, or I don't know what I have to do.
Any book or TV show or movie that you would like to recommend? It's like an icebreaker.
Okay. I can tell you my favorite TV show. I don't know if nowadays it is, but it used to be Dexter, the serial killer. You know him? Well, I used to love that show. It's like a bit violent, but it's mostly a guy that goes the whole show talking inside his own head. Like you can hear him, but he's not talking in the show. It's like a narration, and I found it really, really interesting. And maybe it's fun for some, but doesn't have to do much with the tech and blockchain. And in regards to blockchain, I follow Vitalik Buterin in Twitter mostly and read his blog sometimes. And nothing. I'm really. I think the Discord in the One Hype community made it much better than before, because it's like much faster. I'm very happy with everything. It's like I found something that really catches my attention. So nothing. I'm open, like in all the related topics. I'm open most of the time to talk and engage. And I guess grief continues. I don't know.
Well, we have Craig.
That's the question.
We can
a TV show or a book that you would like to recommend. Wow.
Started rereading this book, perusing. I'm sure many of you are familiar with it. Medical Markets. It's an interesting read. It's some deep, thought-provoking stuff in there, and so I would recommend it to anyone. It seems to fit in with what this group is doing. Absolutely. So thank you, and sorry for the connection issues.
Nice. And Ruben just joined. Ruben, do you have a favorite book or TV show or any content that you would recommend to people?
Favorite book? Let me think. I think Inner Level and Spirit Level. Those two are pretty good books around equality in societies and how that inequality affects the psychological and the physiological and the biological of human beings. Yeah.
Okay. And well, the book that I read lately that I liked a lot was 1984 from George Orwell. I think it's very related to like what we don't want to happen with these technologies. And a TV show that I recommend is 100 Days to Fall in Love. I like put the link in the softgov chat because it's very light, but it's very funny, and I like the characters. So it's like very refreshing when you're stressed or something, just to put that and relax and to have some fun.
I think everyone went. You guys hear me well? My computer is acting very weird. Okay, cool. Yeah, so if anyone is not in the mural board, that is in the chat. And everything is so slow. Oh my God.
Meantime, I was just going to ask Supernova. I'm sorry, I don't know your first name. And Tonga, have you said hello in the TV Praise Telegram channel? Because we would love to be able to dish you praise for your attendance and contributions today.
I can do it. Yes.
Okay, I'll do it. Yeah.
Thank you. If you just put an emoji or say hi, then the bot can recognize you, and then we can dish you praise. Thank you.
Thanks, Jess. Okay, so this is technically the last meeting. We had the deadline for the 27th, that is today. So I think there is a lot that we covered, and I'm happy to see that a lot of what we said we were going to do, we did it. A lot of those topics we did touch base on, and there's still a lot of questions that came up from the work we did, and there is a lot of information still in this board that we can work more into this. So I think I would like to first run into the topics that are missing, that we still should touch base on them and iterate more on them, and perhaps from this create the second iteration of this working group and understand how we move forward, and also open space for feedback for how is this process being for you guys, what are the things that you think are missing here that we should be focusing more into. So one thing I was talking to Angela today that we met for the onboarding working group is how can we have fractal communication. So one of the things that we are building now is some type of executive structure, as she calls it, or the community stewards and the contributor, these relationships between the roles that we are creating, and how we would expand that, how would that scale. So how to maintain decentralization with active boundaries, because one of the questions they were raising in the onboarding working group is are we something like Gitcoin? Are we just promoting grants? Are we do we have an internal type of mechanism where we focus more on admin proposals, or and then versus an external one where projects with a purpose for the token economy come in? Or we are this one single entity that is gravitating between those two and making sure that our structure is developing together with the projects that we are welcoming, and that everyone that submits a project is automatically part of the community because we have processes for that. So so this is one of the challenges that came up, that we thought, okay, how to maintain decentralization with active boundaries is to have a fractal communication between all these executive nuclear structures that exist. So now we are seeing that happening within the working groups. We kind of have many clear points that are communicating between each other. And I wonder if this is a structure that we want to continue after the hatch and even promote more working groups and to have this as an ongoing process that is always happening. And then with that, have the community stewards holding different functions that are more related with the working groups. And the challenge here would just be how to constantly maintain communication. So yeah, I want to open if you guys have any questions or thoughts around this.
In the Miro board, there's this getting fractal section. Is that where we're kind of taking notes on ideas?
We could, yeah.
As far as
notes on the note session.
As far as maintaining communication, I think there's always this inherent challenge that not everyone cares about everything going on. So we just have to have a good organizational structure. And from what I've seen, the DAOs that communicate the best really lean on the forum posting and the forum structure, because people that want to know what's going on, they go to the forum and then they look at the topics that they care about. So I think that we're moving towards a forum. Jess and Manu and Kai created a forum, and we have it, forum.tecommons.org. And now I think we're just about to start using it heavily. And I think that'll work pretty well.
And also about communication, I do think, and all the feedback we've gotten so far, even in the last meeting and on Telegram, a few people have reached out and just said like how much they appreciate the human touch and like hearing from people and the stewards one-on-one and having like personal invites really means a lot to people. So even if we get big or scale or get a lot of people, if we can build on this, what we built already, because people, it's really helpful to have that cohesion and also like the warmth that we were talking about. So if we can maintain that. And then also I like what somebody said here about like, instead of trying to like impose coalitions or groups within groups, that we just like have a little more receptive approach of like seeing how it naturally flows and what emerges. I think having this balance and maybe more like feminine approach in looking at more groups developing, rather than for this process, it was important that we, from the ground up, we developed the groups and dictated the groups like what they were, but maybe that will switch once the hatch hatches.
I think that's something we should consider, especially when we grow and start getting big, is the language factor. It's something that's starting to pop up in one hive, especially if we want to be open to groups from all over that may have an issue with the language, but they are interesting groups to integrate, or investors. We should at least have something. Think about it. Think how to welcome groups from all over the world.
We can have language stewards, who like a few people who speak multiple languages and can be like the cultural and the like, I guess, yeah, language stewards, something like this, and have some people who are willing to contribute time. And then maybe we have like, I don't know what we want to call them. I guess for one hive, you could have like different groups around language and form as a start, steward level, like a layer.
Yeah, I think that was the purpose of that Airtable too, that we can know all of the languages that people speak, and then if there is some restriction, people can reach out straight to the ones that speak their language, and maybe that is a chance of becoming fractal. There could be like groups of people that only speak a certain language, and that there is ways to bridge with other groups that they might be intersectional to, that people speak two languages that could do the bridge there. And yeah, I agree with you, Jess. I think it was more in that sense that I was speaking to, not so much comms in the sense of platform, but what is the structure, boundaries of our system that we are designing, so we can ensure that communication happens in a very in a more seamless way. So, for example, we have our community steward sync, and there we can understand what is happening in the working groups that we are all leading, and that's a structure that have been working so far. So I imagine that if we scale, we would have another group like this and another group like this, and then maybe one community steward group would have to communicate with another community steward group. And if this is an interesting boundary for us to think of as a soft governance rule, in the sense that this is the roles that we are assuming and that we want to continue rolling with them, and that maybe for other roles to come in, we would need some type of a process, like the decision-making process, or if we, because I think it has been working, the roles that we have so far, and I don't see a reason why we wouldn't have them after Hatch. I think that's more or less where I wanted to hear from you guys. Like, if you think that this structure that we have been going off the soft governance is transitional, that it will go after Hatch and continue to make sense.
The biggest issue there is the reward structure. So like we have the praise and the acknowledgement that can continue after Hatch, but post Hatch there is no funding for the rewards. So if we want to just continue this, I imagine that we would just need to create a proposal probably before the Hatch is over to fund some sort of praise quantification to continue. So that would be relatively easy. I mean, the cool thing is we have this very solid baseline decentralized structure where it's conviction voting. You can propose anything, and then if it's voted on, those funds can go and be structured to reward anything. So we would just probably want to have some proposals for soft gov to continue this trend, to be ready before the Hatch, sitting there on the forum, you know, with lots of discussion to continue the processes that we believe we want to continue after that.
Now on that,
sorry.
I was just going to say on that note, because not everybody in this call was on our call yesterday, I'm going to be starting some work this week on the initial observations from like OneHive and other communities, how they're using source cred, and maybe start a forum discussion surrounding how much of the rewards do we want automated, how much will be like human quantified, and of course, that would be like a proposal submitted and asking to allocate X amount of funds for some kind of like bots and like permissionless and emoji based like participation rewards that would turn into tokens. And then also, if we want to continue as a community this praise process, and like maybe assign people to dish praise or whatnot. So that work I will start, and if anyone would like to help, I would super appreciate it to help me like push the ball on that, to begin those discussions on the forum. I'll start a Drive document and then we can move it to the forum maybe. So if anyone wants to here to jump in to help me drive that, would be appreciated.
Yeah, Amazing. That was what you both just said was the two next points of the agenda. How to continue rewarding soft governance work post-hatch. And I think this is super important because that's how we distribute power. I think if we don't have that soft governance rewards, soft governance work being rewarded and people feeling that they can contribute in multiple ways, that not just sending a big proposal for a specific type of work, but all this like small work that goes in between processes and all the things we dish praise for that are so multiple. This is what continues giving agency for multiple people in the group. And yeah, and I feel like, for example, we had 2 weeks ago, no, the first time we quantified praise, there was 40 contributors. Then after there was 60, then after there was 80, and then now we had 100 contributors. So we've been like exponentially rising the amount of contribution we've been dishing praise for, and this will only get bigger and bigger as more working groups start to pop up, as more work starts to be done. And if we stop rewarding this, I think it would be, I mean, I feel like it would be like a tragedy. I don't know. So it's really important just to do that research. I really want to help you too. If anyone else also wants to jump in, yeah.
Cool. I just started the document, which is always the first step. So I'll populate it a bit and then share it by the end of this week.
Okay, I can jump in.
Well, I also think that these.
I can jump in.
I also think that there should be this like continuing of the work around soft governance even after the hatch, because that's what we've been talking about, that soft governance maybe appear that is not so important, but then when issues start to happen, it becomes really important. So I think that we shouldn't wait for issues to happen in order to appreciate this, and like keep like supporting this team, as maybe in some time it will prove its worth.
Can I jump in? I'm sorry if I repeat something that has been said, or if I forgot something about the documents. I tried to read them all. Okay. I think that the basic thing I would like to see in this governance layer is that it's not too much decentralized, in the sense that there are people that are responsible for the governance layer, which doesn't mean that they are the people who decide, but that they are like for the spiral model, I don't know, one responsible for every like 100 people, and that is something of a work for them, and they have a sort of salary for doing that, because it's a serious issue. And then there is the level of giving rewards and compensation for every person that give efforts to the project. But the core thing should be to have people that are accountable and formally responsible, at least to take the voice and start the process of resolution and governance when there is a problem. Because if it is too much decentralized, then it is a problem to me, and I agree with Yuan. So two levels: the one serious paid person for every X people, and then a system to allocate rewards and tokens for every micro interaction. to make it decentralized, and also external mechanisms from the non-governance layer to say things about the governance for how it works. So this is my review.
I don't know. Like, for example, I think when more decentralized is the project, normally it's the better, because when we humans, like, we have, I don't know how to say it in English, but we are not, we have emotions and that stuff, and sometimes we think we're doing good, but we don't. And if it's more decentralized, it's going to help more to avoid that one person's emotions. And like, what I'm trying to say is when little people have control, it can, I mean, sometimes it helps, but it can also be wrong. It depends. I don't know. No, I'm not explaining good. What I want to say is, like, for me, when more decentralized is the better for the project, for the economy, because of that, because humans, sometimes we think we're doing good, but we don't. I don't know if I make it clear.
Yeah, that people can be, biased and corrupted. Therefore, it's important to have multiple people in charge of multiple things, right? That's what you mean?
Oh, I think we lost Livia again. So then I think I guess actually there isn't any, is there any other soft governance work that we want to make sure we continue post-hatch? I know one thing that's really important is just ensuring that there's a high vibe tribe. Juan and I have been talking about this for the conflict resolutions, and making sure that, like, the people who are doing conflict resolution are not there to be the police, but instead they're there to be the, like, relationship management and high vibe management of the community. And so I would say making sure that we have that we try to start the conflict resolution stuff, and like kind of this, like, how to continue rewarding soft governance post-hatch. Well, hopefully we can start doing more soft governance pre-hatch and beta test it, so that we have the proposal ready and already, like, even better than we would have proposed as, like, a theory, but actually have some practice already and have that proposal iterate up until the hatch, until it gets formally submitted.
Are you talking about the rewards specifically, or?
No, I'm actually talking more about conflict res and I mean, rewarding the people who are going to take on some of these, as Angela calls them, executive roles, but looking at different soft governance requirements, especially along the Eleanor Ostrom's principles, and making sure we have solutions that are ready to ensure that those 8 principles are going to be upheld post-hatch, maybe making sure that we're actually upholding them pre-hatch as soon as we can, and then extending them post-hatch. Like, Juan has a proposal that's pretty much handling, like, 3 of them in one fell swoop, and then there's a few other proposals that we might need some soft, or a few other Ostrom principles that we might need some soft governance work on, and trying to implement the Ostrom's principles as soon as we can, and then they'd be funded with impact hours, but then having them also be extended post-hatch.
You want to pick a fight so we can practice resolving it?
I don't think we need to pick fights. I'm sure they're already there. a lot of conflicts are just micro conflicts, and the real challenge is monitoring and making sure that people feel good about like saying, yeah, you know, I had this conversation with Griff and it just didn't work out as well as I thought. He was kind of rude, and it wasn't a big deal, but I want to just like say that my relationship with Griff just took a hit, you know, like minus 3 points on our relationship score, and like making it really easy for that to grow, and having a group that's monitoring the relationships of the community to see if the vibe is going down, if the vibe is going up. Not about punishing Griff for being, you know, tired or hungry when he was in that call, but just like having some awareness of like how things are flowing within the community, so that we can, you know, monitor the relationships.
I guess can I share an example that came up? It's like someone came to me and said like, hey, I was a little like discouraged because I wanted to present something in a meeting, and I feel it wasn't given time. And then I kind of went in and did this a little bit already, because I didn't know if like how things can usually be handled one-on-one. Like, hey, I know that wasn't the intention, and maybe, you know, we can give you the space here. We just didn't have the space there. So I feel like I've done this maybe once or twice, just kind of on my own, and most of it's one-to-one. So at what point do you want that to be brought to others? Or like, I guess it would be helpful to understand more like what is an escalation pattern, because most of it I think can be solved very easily. And even like, for example, I'm sure Livy won't mind, Livy came to me the other day and said like, hey, I felt like you were doing this. And I said, oh, that wasn't my intention. And there was a big miscommunication. So like, I'm happy to be like fully open with my own stuff that comes up if this is helpful in the process. And like maybe some people want to be more open in public to share these experiences so we can see that they are happening and how they are resolved. And then maybe other people prefer to be like more private about it and one-on-one. So having this understanding also is part of it, of like what people are willing to like say, hey, here's an example of something that came up, and share it so that we can understand that like, and the thing is like what we noticed too is like, okay, this thing came up, we have this relationship that I said to Livy like, hey, we're in a relationship now, like we're gonna navigate this together. And having this like very mature, open, vulnerable dialogue, and even her coming to me is like very courageous to say this, because sometimes it's uncomfortable, right? Even with people we love and we're very close to, even our boyfriend, our girlfriend, our wife, like even going to your partner and being like, hey, I got triggered, or I'm having this issue and I feel uncomfortable and awkward and I don't really know how to handle it. To even say that is hard. So in an online community, which also, oh, these people are avatars and I only meet them online, so maybe I wouldn't say something, you know, in person to your face. But online, there's also this like barrier where we can hide behind, but also like, okay, to be vulnerable is to feel safe. You cannot have a culture of shame or blame or punishment. Otherwise, people don't feel safe. So some reflections, and also looking for guidance on like how to navigate this and make this kind of in a process, or, you know, how to bring these things. And maybe this is the right place as it's coming up, but just some sharing and reflections.
Yeah, Juan has a whole document dedicated to managing this. I think the great thing is that when people do feel comfortable to talk to each other about and be vulnerable to each other, we don't need any monitoring or conflict res, because that's not because that's already happening with each other and people are solving them. But it's those times when they're not, making sure that there's like the insurance contract, which is the soft gov cultural, the thing that Juan is working on, to make sure that even if there's a power dynamic that prevents some vulnerability, or if there's other dynamics, that there's an easy place for people to, you know, say that there's a problem, and even say there's not a problem, but, you know, here's just the thing. and that way, if all of a sudden there's a lot of small things with one person, somebody can see that and go talk to them and just be like, hey, you know, like, how are things? You know, I want to tell you that there's these issues that you don't even know about, you know, in the way that you work. And thank God that you can have this feedback opportunity. And most people, when it's still small and early, it's not a big deal. But as those problems become uncommunicated for a long time, they make challenges, and then that brings down the average relationship of the whole community. So having some kind of monitoring system in place, which Eleanor Ostrom recommends, graduate sanctions for people for something that could be, I mean, we're going to have it no matter what, around like kicking people out of Discord that are spamming bad links, you know, and these different, there are going to be like, there's just real issues that we have to deal with no matter what for sanctions. So we can't avoid all punishment. And Eleanor Ostrom strongly recommends that we don't. We have to have some things in place, but we have to also call out the power dynamics and make sure that all these things are clearly documented, who has these powers, why, and examples for use of these powers and these sorts of things, clear guidelines around that. And ideally, my whole point was, ideally we start before the hatch so that we can understand some of these issues better by applying them. Yeah, one.
Well, I don't want to like say that everything is solved with laws, but I think that there's been like this recent discussion where people have sent like constitutions. So I don't know like how it would be seen, or how is the community like seeing the possibility of writing or making our own constitution that states and makes like a factible agreement between every member. So I don't know if maybe in this text, in this document, we can state all our power dynamics, and like everyone has to everyone that is a member has to agree with that.
I think we have a great example in One Hive to look at. They are just recently they are going through a conflict. There is some people that's been cheating on their source cred system, and they are discussing how to deal with that. If they have to kick them out of the distribution, if they have to leave them there, their whole the whole source cred system is suffering because some people is using it improperly. And as they don't have a guideline, they don't have nothing put as a soft governance, they're even discussing to put it down for a few weeks. I mean, that's the problem of not dealing with this stuff before growing. And I think the more we try to solve little and small conflicts pre-hatch, the better prepared we will be once those conflicts become or can become problems if we have not dealt with them.
Yeah, the other one, that's amazing, Santi. And yeah, the one you shared too about that conflict over that the core team had promised the developer 100 honey for the bounty or whatever, 50 before, 50 after, and then only gave 50, and they left it up to like a forum post and a discussion. But those people, there's not really a process for them besides to put it to the whole community and to submit a proposal. So would we want to handle this type of situation in the same way? Yeah, maybe just having a few use cases also to identify, yeah, the obvious ones would be like spam and the forum as well. I already saw all these like things in the back end and settings, and I was like, oh God. I was just thinking, like spamming for messaging, and then like a potential conflict. Conflicts mostly arise over like funding, or maybe, you know, God forbid, knock on wood, the tech team is amazing, but God forbid, you know, something with the token comes up. Like, we can anticipate based on what has happened with other DAOs. So maybe having some use cases and potential processes for how those would be escalated up the chain, or who would have the say. Do we want certain cases to be open, all the cases to the whole community, or certain cases go to like some kind of steward layer? Or
Jessica, I would love if you can review a little bit the document I've been putting together around conflict resolution, because I think that it lacks a lot of polishing the idea, but like the main idea of it, it's I think it's good, and it's like the best case of graduate sanctions that I can think of is sports. Like, if every time a player makes a foul in sports, if every time a player makes a time in sports, like, we take too much time to deal with it, or we wonder what to do, then we are losing the pace of the game. But like, if we have these clear sanctions, then like disputes can be solved within few minutes, like by saying, okay, this sanction is equal to this bad behavior is equal to this sanction, and like having like yellow cards, like when a player receives a yellow card in a game, he's actually conscious that he has to play, like being aware that if he continue making faults, then he's gonna receive a red card, and that means like losing privileges for a period of time. So yeah, I think that maybe I would like to like see the more help in this proposal, because I think that I have this idea, but I still don't know how to polish it in order to make it a full proposal to the organization. So it's like an idea of like having these rules and that are equivalent to sanctions, and that can be like that can be accumulated for further bigger sanctions. So yeah, I think my main idea is just that we can work with this basis that I like propose of having like this manuals like they have in sports, like saying what comportment, what behavior deserves what type of sanction, and have that like clear, and yeah, make it a proposal for the TEC.
If I can add, sorry.
About what Juan was saying, I think I don't know if that's possible, but having like some kind of platform where everyone can join, and for example, there is a conflict and everyone is giving his opinion, and like when you have the opinion of the majority and also saying what the sanction should be, like then I mean, it can be like the community deciding this the sanction or the like the conflict we have, or maybe like having the feedback from the community and then another group take the decisions. But I think like some kind of platform where everyone can join. Oh,
it happened.
What, I don't know. Do you still hear me?
Yeah, you're back.
Wait. Maybe I have internet disconnection.
Juan, can you post your document in the comms group again, in the SoftGov group? Sorry, Zeptimus, go for it.
Yeah, I was talking about that platform where we can have the feedback of the community, basically. So, and the community can decide what should be the sanction or the punishment for that bad behavior or not.
I think it's important for the community to have input on what sanctions are reasonable for different levels of violation. I think that's really important. The details of exactly where the community's involvement comes in on enforcement is an interesting topic that has a lot of research around it. And so there's data out there that we can look at. That it's not like we shouldn't be making anything up here. We're not really doing anything new. So there's a lot of good research that we can make very well-founded decisions around how we do this stuff.
Yeah.
We just have to research and apply.
Yeah. Agree. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So we have 3 minutes left. I think the discussion on conflict resolution, maybe we need to work more closer into that this week. One, maybe I abandoned you a little bit this last week, and we can shape that into a proposal to submit probably on Friday. That would look good. And I think the next points are, creating, delineating the rules a little bit better. What are the rules that we identify? My computer just shut down completely. I don't know what happened, but in the mural board, beside the Austrian principles, I outlined a little bit what are the soft governance rules that I see that we have so far, and maybe if you could give a signal now of like 1 minute, use this time to, are these rules, do you agree with these rules? Do you have any rules to add? And do you think these rules should continue post-hatch? And then I think the next step will be syncing with Jess on, researching best practices of contribution reward once we have the technical layer, and making sure that people are rewarded for all the work that is happening in the community. And I would like to hear from you all, maybe 1 minute each, to hear if you think there's any action items missing, if you would like to work on something until Thursday for us to present on the TEC sync, and if there's any other proposals that we need to submit until Friday, and I commit with organizing everything we have so far and understanding what are the further actions. So I'll pass to Julio.
I am available to help, and I think that tomorrow we should decide what is feasible up to Friday to do, and then in the next 2 days to deliver it. So I'm not aspiring at producing too much, but doing what is doable in 3 days that we have. You are speaking about this Friday, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, I pass to you.
Well, I am willing to put a lot of work into this proposal in order to present it. I know that it's still very raw, but I think that with collaboration, we can push this through. And I'll pass it to Livia.
I spoke already, so I'll pass to Supernova. Oh, and also Supernova and Tonga, I think it's the first time you joined this call. Feel free to ask any questions too if anything sounded confusing.
I mean, I'm totally confused right now, but I mean, I don't think I know enough about what this community is doing or like how I can contribute yet, if that's okay. I mean, I'm just trying to like get an idea of the vibe, and I've posted a link to like a phenomenal talk in the SoftGov thing. It's by a friend of mine called Moritz and his friend. Basically, like talks about a theory of how schisms happen and how to like unschism and like where schism's good and where it's not good and like what like how you might create tokens around that to like facilitate like knowledge being created in the process. Oh yeah, sorry. I'll pass to Tonga then.
Okay. Yes, I need more time to read it. Mostly, like maybe a few days to read. Like most things that I will be looking in the Discord, all the pinned messages, and read all the links. I've been reading some already, but I need more time.
I'll grab it. Yeah, I think this was a great call. Always fun to brainstorm, and you know, if we're talking about, hey, what are we going to deliver by Friday, or what are we going to do? I would love to see some decisions on soft gov proposals that we want to try to implement and execute on, or different pieces that we expect to want to implement post hatch, and start practicing them now while we have a clear, simple reward strategy for people who are doing it, and then beta test some of our ideas, and just start executing on them, and then we have a clear opportunity for a feedback round before we actually make a proposal to the conviction voting system that will be up hopefully in December or January. I'm really excited though. I think this is the only DAO that I know of that's putting in this kind of effort into making sure we have really good soft governance protocols. So I think we're already ahead of the game, and other DAOs are being successful. So I imagine this will be huge. And I'll pass it to Santi. Did you get to go?
No, I didn't go. Yeah, I agree. I think we've touched most of the topics that are really important during these weeks, and we should just focus on the ones we wanna explore and expand during this pre-hatch phase and test, and that's what we should propose Friday, and have this period before December to put or involve as much as possible that we consider are key hatch. All of them are important, but there's a certain amount of time we can devote to some of them, and to focus on those and develop them as much as possible before we launch. And I'll pass it to Jess.
Yeah, I think this is really helpful, just to have the space to talk and not necessarily have such a tight goal for the meeting. And when I hear all of you speaking and sharing, it helps to put everything in context, and yeah, it helps so much with the work that I'm doing. And yeah, I've started this document, and I'm going to work pretty quickly and share that for some feedback. I'm going to pull over some examples from OneHive, and even you can go and look on their GitHub like repo to see how they're weighting different actions, and yeah, just sharing some of the issues that they've had, which hopefully we can solve with defining sanctions and things. So yeah, we'll have that document soon. And appreciate the time together. And I will pass to Craig if his internet is working now.
Hey, nothing super substantive to add. Great work, everyone, and we'll talk soon.
I think I'm the last.
Yeah, thank you.
I like so far what we were discussing, and I think that's pretty good. I would only have a question, like where I can find that document just to read it and have a stronger feedback. So before Friday.
The document that I proposed on conflict resolution is in the SoftGov Discord channel.
Okay. Let me see. Okay.
If you want, I can pass it to the Telegram group too. Are you in?
I didn't understand.
If you are on the Telegram group, I can pass you the link there.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Spam that link everywhere. It's a beautiful document. Just needs more refinement and more refinement. But well, thank you guys. Great SoftGov call. Olivia, do you have any last words?
No, just thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.